Everybody, it's me, Andrew. Get out into nature and tune in for yourself. Resonate with the Earth's electromagnetic field via 432 Hertz, the universal frequency. Balance out psychologically and emotionally, and further strengthen your brain and your heart's coherence as well. Get a plant based diet going for yourself today and nurture yourself right back into life. We are literally herbivores in our nature. Further balance out your physical body's pH level and get with alkalinity. Then you can generate some static electricity. Send me some love telepathically set attention to your mind and set intention to communicate. That is all there is to telepathy. You are now tuning in to great days. So, So today I wanted to talk about mind control, um, and maybe the Vatican, um, maybe different technologies in depth on the sciences of mind control, maybe the quantum field, and maybe ego and delusion. Right. So let's get into some of these different topics here. Um, so mind control. Mind control is very easily crafted reality, right? By this I mean that it's easily achieved through electromagnetism, right? So whenever you start to question things like conditionings or even just programs, things like this, it's very easy for people who are more knowledgeable of these areas or these types of technologies to be able to utilize them against masses of people who are not educated to the same intensity or degree as people who are, you know. And by this I mean, if you begin to like question that a little bit, there's easily room to see that that controlling the mind is the reality, right? And this is something you can do for yourself, right? You can liberate your mind, or you can liberate yourself. You can discipline yourself. You can control the mind. You know, you can do different things like this. But there can also be people within the drama who are going to have that advantage of controlling the mind, manipulation of the mind, you know. And this is something they're actually teaching in institutions, right? This is like a part of like a hidden agenda to be able to manipulate based on various different architecture of the mind, you know, because architecture doesn't necessarily need to be something that's physically built, uh, but it's just structures, and there's mental structure, right? So all of this can easily be built along the designs that have been laid by the people who have created that, right? And this is, and then it get eventually it starts getting into um, the Vatican and places like this. The Vatican is the spiritual power of the world, and it's corrupting the world, the elemental forces of the world, very deeply, you know. And they're doing things which are tarnishing the ecology of the soul, right? So they're definitely doing a lot of the corrupting, and they're definitely using spiritual powers to control the mind as well, right? They're definitely using spells. They have the magic, um, whereas the mass, we aren't given the same intensity or the same level of magical ability, right? So we've definitely been put off of our magical power because that's the spiritual power of the world, but it's corrupting the world as well, because it's tarnishing the elemental forces of the world, and it's doing specifically the Vatican, not only the Vatican, but America as well, which is the military power of the world, are doing a lot of the destruction, right? To nature, uh, purposely, right? So, um, obviously, this is all this is all drama. It's all part of the Mayan coding, or the Mayic coding, which is an illusory coding, a matrical coding, right? Matriarchal coding or patriarchal coding, uh, which is feeble. It kind of it falls away by itself, you know. Um, and a higher coding kind of remains one that is more unconditional, right? Uh, Quantum codings. But I'm not going to get into this too far, too deeply, because uh, the quantum field gets a little complicated, right? Um, but I can give a little bit of the mathematics here and there, right? But the mind control, it can be observed. You can observe the mind control. A lot of people are ignorant to mind control, and may not admit slavery, or like even control the mind, things like this, right? Because they're harsh truths, but they're there. So um, once again, they're part of that drama. They're not actualities, because they can be dissolved away within that observation, which is free for everybody. Everybody can purely observe, until the conception has been completely dissolved away, right? Uh, which is a liberation. It's liberation. Um, so if you are able to dissolve away some of the conception, condition, uh, programs, complexities, things like this, and come into a simplicity, then you're slowly dissolving into the unconditionality, or the unconditional, right? And within the unconditional, there's much more. There's much more light. There's much more knowledge. There's omniscience. There's purities. There's love. Genesis. This is the renewment. You know, so the corrupted system is the destructed system, or it's destructive. It has to corrupt itself so it can destroy itself, and then it can renew itself. And it's also kind of it's generating self-awareness through that little circuitry, um, of the corrupting factorization, the destructive, and then the renewment as well, which is also part of the destruction. Um, so there's throughout the system, and that's all it is. It's just like a console. console, like Soul, the sun, uh, kind of like a video game, you know. But if you start observing it, then you can easily see that it's a collective reality. It's a shared experience between many peoples, which who are just one, because we're only one organism. Um, and this is backed up by interconnectedness. Everything is interconnected, right? Um, and that's also part of that's quantum interconnectedness. You know, um, there's a lot of misinformation that is telling you, which is part of the corruption, obviously, of the part of the corruption of the purity, which is unity, or the purity is also um, the source, spirit, consciousness, love, unconditionality is the purity, the purification. So the corrupting factorization is here to separate us from the source, and this is why the environment is being destroyed deliberately, because the environment is our way to connect ourselves with the source, and if we're not connected with the source, we're slowly dying away, right? So through that corruption, nature expands its self-awareness so that there can be the kundalini rises its energy, and this fractalizes itself throughout the inhabitants. The earth's kundalini is rising. The divine feminine is on the rise, and it's also happening within the inhabitants. So the corruption is led has brought that, that process, so that we can kind of all come into a unification, and renew things for a better, right? uh and that's the destruction of Shiva for the rebirth. So the ego is the fragmented consciousness. It's a delusion. It's a collective delusion that we've all gone through. Um, but it doesn't actually exist, because that's part of the corruption, right? The source going through fragmentation is a type of corruption. So the moment we begin to unify in consciousness, we are coming back into pure and pure states, right? So that's an inevitable. That's part of the natural process, natural cycles of nature, or just natural cycling, is the unification from fragmentary consciousness to unified consciousness. Um, and the delusions slowly start to dissolve away. The illusions dissolve away. All these things dissolve as we become one with the sun, once again, or the source. And eternal life is it comes back, or we come back into an eternal life in collection, more of a pure state of being, right? um But that's gonna be it for today's video. I do thank everybody for watching. Once again, peace out, one love, and have a great evening.